Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me now is the third man in UFC history to win a fight via Flue Choke. I'm talking about Jordan Rinaldi. Jordan, welcome back to Half the Battle.
How are y'all doing?
Doing amazing. So, everyone's trying to act like you're the fourth person to do it, but you're actually the third because OSP did it
Yep.
twice.
Which is kind of shocking. I wouldn't expect that from OSP. I didn't know that about him.
I know, right? When he did it that first time against Nikita Krylov, we were all like, oh my God, has that ever been done before? But then, when they say the name Von Flue, then you remember, oh yeah, Jason Von Flue, the man who invented that. Or let's not say
Exactly.
invented that, but brought it,
Exactly.
gave it prominence, right?
Yes, exactly. It's always been there. Everyone's known about it.
So, before we talk about your fight and all that, do you know the history of the Von Flue choke? I mean, was it originally called something else before Jason Von Flue successfully did it inside the UFC's octagon?
Honestly, I have no idea. When I was out in Vegas with Sergio, we had a bunch of wrestlers there, so takedowns were always there, but the strikers tended to hold on to the guillotines too long, so all Sergio would yell at us was to reverse the guillotine. He didn't call it a Von Flue. He just said it was a choke, and that's how I guess a lot of the old school BJJ guys are. They just call them chokes. They don't care for the names that much, I guess.
And rightfully so, it's all about getting the win by any means necessary. The names are just for the fans. And, when you go out there and you tap a guy out in his home country, in the elevation, I mean, we'll talk about the elevation in a second because, as far as I'm concerned, I get off that airplane and I almost pass out. You know what I mean, Jordan? But,
Exactly.
did you know that he's the kind of guy that was going to go for a guillotine and, hold on to it even if you pass his guard?
Well, I knew he when people do get deep on his hips, he did it against Luque. He grabbed around the neck once or twice when Luque was close to the takedown, and he didn't seem to let go early enough each time. And I said, if I get my bottom arm over quick enough and lock that in, he won't be able to get it out, especially with the gloves on. So we knew that he reached for the guillotine a good bit because he didn't know the best takedown defenses, I guess.
Now, tell me about how you addressed the elevation there, because, your brother told me that you were sleeping in a tent, you were doing all these things. Obviously, it seemed like it worked out well.
Well, I was hoping because I was doing a rent-to-own process, and I was going to use this fight to see if it actually worked or not. So it doesn't really help when I only fight for 2 minutes, and the cardio isn't really tested at all. But, yeah, I was sleeping in the tent. I had to do a certain type of breathing treatment for about an hour and a half each night, and then I would also work out with the mask on twice a week. So it was actually a ton of work doing all that stuff, and it was kind of annoying. But I'm gonna say I'm a believer, I guess. Let's say that.
Hey, look, you got to make the sacrifices necessary to get the win, because if you wouldn't have gotten that win, we might not even be talking right now, but now you're in the UFC, you're here to stay. And real quick, I got to ask, how did the old lady react to that tent?
Well, so it's funny, I train in Charlotte and Atlanta. So when I'm in fight camp, I go to Charlotte and stay there. So the tent was in Charlotte, and she would come up on the weekends and stay. So the first few weekends she could hang with me and it wasn't bothering her too much with the altitude. But then once I started getting to the higher elevations, she couldn't sleep in it without getting headaches and stuff. But the first time she saw it, she just laughed and said, "This is ridiculous," and actually the zipper on her side of the tent was broken, and I had to get that fixed. So she was feeling very claustrophobic. She had to switch sides of the bed. She was freaking out a little bit about it, but she got over it real quick.
Well, I'm sure this career-defining win will help a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. She was very happy when I talked to her on FaceTime down in Mexico.
Yeah. So you were saying that you can actually adjust the elevation in that tent?
Yeah. So the generator basically drops the oxygen levels of the air that it pumps in there. So you can adjust the heights, and they have an adapter that takes it all the way up to 21,000 feet, but they suggest you really only sleep at 9,000 feet or so at the most, and that's about what I was doing.
So this dude you took on, Alvaro Herrera, he's absolutely massive. Like, I was completely blown away that he dropped to 155. Because when I was breaking the fight down, I was actually under the impression that it was at 170. I was like, yeah, there's no way this dude's making 155. But then I looked it up. It said lightweight. I was like, oh, okay. So then I see the fight itself, and he actually looked sucked out. Not just the day of the weigh-ins, but the day of the fight. I mean, that dude's massive.
He's a big guy. He was soft at 170. I'll say that, but I mean, he was a big guy. He has a tall frame and a wide frame, but man, he was hurting in that fight, I think, and I mean, not to say if he had an easier time cutting weight, it would be any different, but he definitely had a little bit of a struggle, and we knew he would have a hard time making it for his first time at 55. I honestly don't know if he'll stay at 55 or not.
So me and my friends made a bet, and there was a little moment in that fight where it seemed like you got rocked. Now I said it was a clash of heads. One of my friends said it was a hook. Which one of us is right?
So slowing it down in replay, the hook kind of grazes the back of my head. I don't think that's what hurt me at all. I think the hook actually pulled me in closer because I was going for an uppercut at the same time. So I was looking for the uppercut, and the hook landed behind my head and kind of pulled me forward a little more as I was kind of overzealously jumping in for the uppercut. And that's what hurt me was the head clash.
Okay, so I win. So I'm right.
Yeah, I mean you're right. The hook didn't bother me. It was, if anything, his fist didn't hit my head. It was more like his forearm. It did the inside of his forearm. So that's not what hurt me. It was definitely the clashing of heads, and I smashed his head pretty hard. You could see the blood gushing out in the fight. It was pretty nasty.
I mean, you recovered right away, but I mean, were you hurt, man?
Mm-hmm. That happens in a lot of my fights, actually. Just that one flash knockdown, and I recover very, very quickly. And for some reason, it's like I have to get that flash knockdown almost. One of the guys I fought made fun of me because he's a friend of mine now, but he laughed at me because he dropped me with a jab. And after that, I teed off on him for the rest of the fight. But, I mean, it's like I have to have that flash knockout, and then I recover immediately, and it's fine. I don't know what it is about my makeup, my biology, whatever it is, but just like I need it.
No, I mean, I heard UFC Hall of Famer Forrest Griffin say the exact same thing in the prime of his career, that he needed to take a punch or two to wake up to know that I really am in a fist fight.
This is happening right now. We're doing this.
So was there at all, listen, I know you're a very mentally strong guy. I've been seeing you fight on the regional scene for years, but was there at all any intimidation knowing that you're fighting a Mexican in Mexico? You know what kind of pride those guys have. You know that they're true warriors. You know they don't give a damn. Were you at all like, this is going to be serious?
No, I mean, when I was coming up, everyone, or the people in the regional area around me, know that I didn't have that, home base promotion that really promoted me. I was always the one traveling out of town to go and fight other people. I think I fought professionally in Charlotte only twice. And the rest of the time, I'm going into all these other places where the promotion really had the best interests of their fighter in mind. And I was going into enemy territory all the time. And so it was nothing new to me. There was a lot more booze than I was expecting, but I mean, knowing he was a Mexican and their heritage in fighting sports and boxing and everything like that, that might have been a little bit of an intimidation factor. They're known for good cardio and just toughness, but I felt like I had a mental edge over him and endurance edge over him as well.
Yeah, definitely. Now, last thing about the elevation, because I spoke with your brother and he was telling me, he gets off the plane feeling lightheaded. For you, was it at all an issue?
No. So I traveled the same day as two of my corners. So I have this little oxygen sensor for my finger, and when I got off the plane, my oxygen levels were at like 94, 95, not too low, but a little bit lower than normal. And then I did theirs, and they were like 89 and 90. I was like, man, that must have really helped me, the tent and everything, and just being in great shape.
All right, Jordan, you ready for the hard-hitting questions, man?
Sure.
So 2 years ago, your Carolina Panthers were, the best team in the league. Last year, my Atlanta Falcons were the second best. They choked when it mattered most. Let me get your prediction for
We
this
have that in
upcoming
common.
season. What's gonna happen this
Sure.
upcoming season, man?
We're going to split the series, but we're going to win the division. And here's why. Our offense is going to be better. Cam has had a year with a child now, so that's the big thing I thought Cam had a problem was he had a child, a newborn last year. We knew that that was going to take away from him. Our defense was a little iffy. We've shored up a lot of holes. We're gonna wreck y'all.
I cannot wait, man. Do you know if this year is going to be in your town or my town?
What do you mean? The game?
The game itself.
Well, they have one in each, so.
So we're gonna play y'all twice. Okay, well, we'll look to make it 2-0, Jordan.
I'm sure.
So, hey, man, I mean, look, now you officially got your first win in the UFC. You're here to stay. Mm-hmm. And even in that debut, I mean, you go against a guy in Abel Trujillo on short notice. And look, the only people to ever beat Abel Trujillo inside the UFC's octagon, the number 1 contender, Khabib, the number 2 contender, Tony Ferguson, and top 15 guy, James Vick. I mean, you have to be very, very elite to beat him. And you got very close, and it was simply a matter of, it was a short notice fight. But do you feel like you learned a lot from that fight and, it's going to elevate you in years to come?
Oh, yeah. So think, even going back to those fights with Khabib and Tony Ferguson, you look at those first rounds, and he destroys people. In every fight, he's the better athlete. He's the faster athlete. He's the best wrestler. He's a phenomenal athlete, but then he always gasses, and that's how these guys beat him. But in the first round, he dominates people. So then when I go in there, and he beat me in the first round, but it was a very close first round. After that fight, I was like, there's no doubt anymore. There's no doubt. This is where I'm supposed to be. I've pushed myself so hard. I've learned so much. I've done the hard work. I haven't blown up my record with bumps. I've done the right steps. And that fight was validation for me being in the UFC. I wasn't the one that got wrecked by Abel Trujillo. I gave Abel a very tough fight in my UFC debut, and it really helped my mindset going forward, especially into the Alvaro fight, and just going forward in my training. It just gave me a lot more confidence. It made me sure the UFC call up was a good thing and was right.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up. Tell me about your mindset, man, because, you're a guy that's overcome a lot of adversity. Even on the regional scene, we all remember that BS decision against Ronnie Rogers, which we all thought you won. And like you said, man, you've been fighting tough dudes, Brian Ortega, all these guys. And now do you feel like, but you've always had the physical capabilities, but now do you feel like the mental is catching up to the physical?
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing that I've always had, like the little man's complex, but not that angry little man's complex, but the little man's complex where I'll be 20 pounds bigger than the guy, and I'll look at him and say, man, he's big. He's bigger than me. So now that I've got that win under my belt and everything, and the fight with Abel, it really did grow my confidence tremendously, showing me I belong here. I have the gifts. I have these things, and I have the work ethic to not only compete with these people, but to smash them.
And that's what you showed on Saturday night. So, Jordan, is there anyone that you want to fight next? Obviously you'll take whatever they give you, but is there anyone you're eyeing?
There's nobody I'm eyeing. I don't call people out like that or anything. I honestly am confident in my skill set that I match up with the best of them. And it's going to take time, and I got to pick the right fights in the UFC because they're all tough, but we're going to go up the line slowly and surely, but just the right fights, and I think over the next 2 years or so, you're going to see not only me win a bunch, but start more convincingly winning and showing my skill set more, because a lot of the stuff that a lot of people have only seen are the grappling part, or is the grappling part that I have, but I got to start showing off the hands a little more too, and I think that'll be apparent. Especially after this win, it kind of locks me in there as opposed to before this fight. If I would have lost it, it could have been back to the regional circuit for me. So this gives me a little bit more wiggle room, if you will, with my techniques used in the next fight.
Oh no, 100% about it. And let me just ask you on a personal level, how does it feel to be in the deepest weight class in combat sports? Because I mean, 155 pounds is a Shark Tank, and I'm not even just talking about the top 25. I'm talking about the top
Hmm.
200.
Well, it makes sense too because 155 people are walking around 170, 180, maybe 190. That's the most normal sized person in the world. I mean, if you look at the average sized person, that's what the lightweight weight class is filled with. So it only makes sense that it's the best and the most athletic and the most talent rich pool. On a personal level, I don't love the idea. I mean, it'd be fantastic if we had the skill set of the heavyweight division. I'd run through it. But it's pretty cool to say, hey, I'm in the best promotion in the world at the best weight class in the world. I mean, now as I climb up the rankings, it's going to be shown that hey, this guy's really really good.
100%. So Jordan, what's next for Jordan Rinaldi?
Hopefully November. We're looking for November. I doubt the MSG card will have any room for me, but hopefully they have a fight in Virginia and Norfolk, which would be fantastic. A lot of my friends and family could drive up from Charlotte, and I'm hoping to get on that card, be able to eat Thanksgiving this year instead of starving myself over it. So that's ideal.
Hey, between us, take the hometown fight because I hear those New York taxes aren't kind.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about that too. They double tax there, don't they?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. A lot of people, it's funny. A lot of champions, not just dudes that are on the prelims. A lot of fighters in general say like, "I'm never fighting in New York again."
Absolutely, it's foolish.
Yep. So man, so they're coming to Norfolk.
I believe so, and they haven't decided a headliner for that yet, but uh, hopefully it'll be somebody cool. I mean, I almost got a fight on a card with BJ Penn. That would have been awesome, but hopefully it'll be an interesting fight and have more hype than this one. I was a little disappointed in the lack of promotion for this fight, this whole fight card. I think Sergio and Moreno are fantastic fighters, and they should have gotten a little more credit or promotion than they did. And as well as Rashad Evans being on there, I mean, there's a lot of talent on this card, and I feel like it kind of got pushed to the wayside because of the three weekend fights prior.
Oh no, I mean when you're sandwiched in between John Jones and then Mayweather McGregor, I mean it was just unfortunate timing, you know what I mean? But I'm pretty damn sure your next fight will be well promoted, and man, we cannot wait to see it. Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. It's always a pleasure, man. Let the audience know where they can follow you on social media and any message for the fans. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me again, of course. And all of my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, it's all Jordan Rinaldi. Pretty easy to remember. And just thankful for all my fans, all my teammates and training partners and coaches, and thankful that God gave me the talents to do what I love and to promote His word as much as possible.
Jordan, thanks again for the time and best of luck in the next step.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Three.